here at Publix, and where you would normally find the chicken breasts, there are none. There are a ton of chicken legs, lots and lots of chicken legs, and a couple of thighs if you want, maybe some chicken backs, drumsticks, whole chickens. These are your only chicken thighs that you're gonna get. Y'all see that price? They can keep those chicken thighs. Everything else is fine though. So I misspoke in that, because when I said chicken thighs, right below that shelf was like 2 or 3 packages of chicken breasts, and they were extremely expensive. And those are the only ones you were going to find, were those really high-end chicken breasts. My question for you is, out of all of the chicken parts, why is only the chicken breast what is missing? And I have thoughts and theories on this, and we're going to actually talk about those today, because we're going to talk about the fact that there's the lab-cultured chicken, the lab-created cell-cultured chicken, but then there's also gene splicing that is being done to our beef and to our salmon, which we've talked about before. But there is this new show on Netflix, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called You Are What You Eat. And I want to talk to you about what that is, and the hidden agenda in that show, and the subliminal attacks that are being aimed at us with that show. If you have not seen it, it is worth watching so that you understand, but you have to watch it from the standpoint of somebody who's not gullible, all right? So that's why we're going to talk about it today. But first, I do want to mention to you, we have talked about the fact that this lab-grown, cell-cultivated chicken is now been legalized by the FDA, right? Here in the United States of America, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has legalized this cell-cultured, lab-grown chicken, which is not fake chicken. It is made from chicken cells. So it's the actual thing. You don't have to grow a chicken. You don't have to take up the land for it, the space for it, the feed for it. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to worry about all the gross things that are happening to it. You don't have to worry about the antibiotics. That would be the only perk out of the entire thing, in my opinion, is that you don't have to worry about antibiotics. But the problem here is, where does it stop? Okay, so I was kind of curious on what else have they done genetically modified since the chicken. We talked about the fact they were genetically modifying salmon and pigs in previous videos. And I came across this one today. It says, a far less common way to raise animals for food can be genetically modified is through gene splicing. Now, they consider genetically modified if you were to make a golden doodle. I have a golden doodle. They took a golden retriever and a labradoodle, or golden retriever and a poodle. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. Golden retriever and a poodle, and they had them, bound chicken wow wow together, and there you go. You have a golden doodle now. They do that with chickens and things like that. They do that with cows. They do all that kind of stuff, and they consider that genetic modification, because technically you're mixing 2 genes together, and there you go. It's when it comes to gene splicing that I think you have a problem. The type of modification is rare in commercial animal farming, the gene splicing, and consists of changing an organism's genetic makeup by introducing, eliminating, or rearranging specific genes using modern science techniques. Not the modern, hey, let's get frisky and genetically modify by mixing 2 different breeds of dogs, 2 different breeds of horses, 2 different breeds of cows or cattle or whatever else. They're now gene splicing, where they're going in and they're tweaking the DNA. They're changing things inside the makeup of these animals, right? Very few breeds of animals that have been gene spliced can be raised for the purpose of producing food in the United States, except for farmed Atlantic salmon, who have been modified to grow market size in half the time that they would normally. Because, turnover is what matters. You've got high demand, you need high supply. So you have to genetically modify them so that they can be, and gene splice them so they can grow faster, because that's healthy, right? The most recent case is Angus cattle, who have a lighter coat so they can be raised in warmer climates and experience a lower rate of heat stress. While the former went through a lengthy approval process, meaning the salmon, went through a lengthy approval process before first being sold in 2021. So side note, if you are buying farm-raised Atlantic salmon at Sam's Club, Walmart, Costco, Publix, anywhere that you happen to buy your Atlantic salmon, because it's all going to be farm-raised. You're not going to get wild caught, generally speaking. Please know that the possibility of it being super genetically modified by gene splicing is really, really high, all right? Now, the cattle were determined to be low risk by the Food and Drug Administration less than 2 years after the initial proposal, meaning that no additional regulatory approval is required before the cattle are used to create products for the market, including meat. Now, here's the problem there. When you are gene splicing and genetically modifying meats and things like that, so that they can be raised in warmer climates and experience a lower rate of heat stress, we know that that's supposed to be a plus, right? More ranchers can now raise Angus cattle in warmer climates because they've been gene spliced, genetically modified, so that they don't get as hot. But do we really truly trust the FDA and know what it does to the meat, to the makeup of the animal itself, and then what that does to us when we eat the foods? We are now in a time where they're saying 1 in 2 people is going to get some sort of cancer in their lifetime. And it's not because, just that our bodies do that. It's because of things we're putting into our bodies. I hear talk all the time of, 100 years ago, we were allowed to eat meat and do all these things and it was perfectly fine. 100 years ago, they weren't gene splicing and genetically modifying and pumping animals full of antibiotics and everything else. So they are purposefully doing these things to the animals because of our consumption of them. And in turn, it is hurting us. And I'm not going to say that eating animals is what's hurting us. I'm going to say our food supply in general is what's hurting us, whether it's animals, whether it's dairy, whether it's plants, whether it's your overly processed, boxed or canned crap that's out there. Everything they have done to the food in the last 100 years is what is killing us, not the food itself. If they were to leave the animals alone, let chickens grow the way they're supposed to grow, let the Angus cattle grow the way they're supposed to grow, let the salmon grow the way it's supposed to grow, we would not have nearly the same amount of health issues that we have today. It's when the scientists and everybody wants to jump in there and play God that things start to go wrong. You have much higher rates of obesity, of diabetes, of heart failure, of lung cancers, of childhood diseases because of all these things we have done to the food. There are people out there who are on a carnivore diet, eat all meat, but they eat grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, and they're not having issues. Then you have people out there who can be on the carnivore diet as well, but they're eating all these meats that have been pumped full of antibiotics, that have been pumped full of all this other stuff, that are eating this grass or this wheat or whatever they're being fed that is full of that Monsanto weed killer, Roundup, all that crap. And those people are going to have cancer, going to have heart issues. And it's not because of the meat itself, it's because of what's been put into that meat. And it's because of, you have vegans out there who they're like, oh, I only eat fruits and vegetables. I have no dairy, no meat, no whatever. Now, they may be healthier in some aspects, but they can still get extremely sick because if they're not eating organic and they're eating things that are grown in areas where the high level of chemicals and the fertilization, you still have to worry about that. We have to worry so much about all of our food at this point that is absolutely ridiculous. Genetically modified eggs. A genetically modified egg is one which has been laid by a genetically modified chicken. In 2021, the average chicken in the United States laid 285 eggs. I need you to hear that though. 2021, the average chicken in the United States laid 285 eggs. Yet we had a massive egg shortage at some point, even though we have billions of chickens laying eggs in the United States. Just putting that out there. Again, the whole shortage of chickens right now, even beginning of this video with the chicken breast, there's no shortage. They're doing something with it, or in my opinion, there's going to be a more, you're going to see a higher decrease of being able to get chicken breasts in your grocery store because those are the only thing right now that can be lab cultured, cell cultured, lab grown. I always forget which words I'm supposed to put together there. Those are the only ones that have been approved by the FDA because you can't grow something with bones in it. They can only grow chicken breasts. And so at some point soon, we're going to see where the chicken breasts are the only thing on the shelves in your grocery stores that are lab grown, cell cultured. Everything else is from a real chicken because there's bones in it. No bone, no go. That's how I feel. But listen, the average chicken laid 285 eggs in 2021, which is almost double the 150 eggs a year that the average backyard hen used to lay in the 1930s. Again, 100 years ago, before man came in and decided to play God and mess with the food and everything else. This increase in productivity comes with serious welfare concerns for the mother hens, including bone fractures due to the laying that starts before the hens are fully grown, and fractures that occur because the increased egg production robs much of the calcium that the hens would otherwise use to maintain their bones. Then you're eating the genetically modified eggs. Think about that as well. The eggs that are coming out of these genetically modified chickens are going into your body genetically modified. So the best way to get real food is to go to farmers who refuse to follow along with these FDA approved things for mass sell and mass consumption by, I don't want to say consumption, mass consumerism, because that's what it is. The ones who are selling to these massive, like Tyson and whoever else is out there right now, because my brain isn't braining all the way, they are willing to do things to their chickens and their Angus cattle and their whatever else in order to make those big sales, make that money. The smaller farmers, a lot of times, are the ones who are doing regenerative growth for their cattle and their chickens, where they are pasture raised and they are grass fed on this land, and then in the next season they move them to this piece of land while that one regrows, and so then they're over here eating, and they move them around in a circle. Now, the show that is on Netflix right now called "You Are What You Eat." Let me explain to you. I saw it and I was interested. I have watched all kinds of documentaries. I watched Fork Over Knives. I've watched Super Size Me, which is the one about McDonald's. I have watched one that Natalie Portman did the talkover for, something about cows, Cowspiracy. I've watched Seaspiracy, where they're talking about, you know, what's happening to our seafood and everything else. And all of those are designed to make you and I want to go vegetarian, want to go vegan, want to say that eating meat is bad and it's horrible for the planet and whatever else. Now, this "You Are What You Eat," it was a twin experiment. So I went into this thinking that they were taking these twins and they were just going to see what the food does to their bodies. So you start watching this documentary, and what they have done is they took 22 sets of twins and they made one of them eat vegan, specifically vegan, for 8 weeks. I think it was 8 weeks. And another one was carnivore for 8 weeks. And they checked their levels of their bodies before and after, right? And of course, you expected to see a difference in whatever else. But what I realized from watching this 4-part mini-series, that's what it was, like a 4-part docu-series, is that the entire thing was not about "You Are What You Eat," a twin experiment. It was about pushing on the viewer how bad animal agriculture is for our world and for our bodies. The entire thing was a push for veganism masked in this whole production of, we want to see what twin bodies do differently between eating fruits and vegetables and eating meats and not. That's what I thought it was going to be about. At no point in time was there a positive anything said about meat consumption. Everything was pushed on you that veganism is the way to go and everything else. There are a lot of people that are vegan because they don't believe in animal slaughter. They don't like what's happening to the planet because how much space animals take up in order to be grown, like these massive, massive productions, right? And how much water it takes and how much feed it takes for everything. That's what this documentary, this "You Are What You Eat," a twin experiment on Netflix, was really about. It was another push from a different angle on how we as people are at fault because we like to eat meat, and that is why our planet is dying and blah, blah, blah. That was the whole entire basis on it. If you're just watching it thinking you're going to see how you can, what different things do to your body, your makeup, no, it's not really about that. It is literally to show you what veganism is about. To me, I saw it for what it really is. It is a way so that when everything is lab grown, when Angus cattle and any other kind of cattle is now gene spliced, and you don't even need the whole cattle anymore. All you need is a lab to grow it in. When the lab grown cell cultured, again, I don't know how to say that, chicken is on your shelf in the grocery store, when this Atlantic salmon can now be made in a lab instead of having to factory farm them in the middle of the ocean, where it's actually really gross looking. If you really want to be honest about it, it looks disgusting. It is more people will be willing to eat these things because of what they're being shown on a constant basis about how bad animal agriculture is for our environment. It is for the land. It is for your body. It is for everything else. I can see the pros and cons of what the show was trying to do. because I can see the cons of what has been done to our food supply and what it has done to our bodies. Does that mean that I think we should eliminate, animals and stuff like that and then only eat a lab grown, cell cultured, whatever? No, it means I think we should take better care of the animals that we are going to eat. I think if you want to have a steak, then the steak, before it is your steak, it should be fed the way you want to be fed. You know what I mean? And that's what we don't do as a society. This is the part that really gets me. People that are really pushing veganism, which again, you do you, boo. Whatever you feel is best for your body is what you should do. However, I do dislike the fact that most of these documentaries are pushed at you in a way to make you feel guilty about the things that you eat. If you want a hamburger, it makes you feel guilty about it because, oh, well, starving kids and wherever could have had water, but no, we use it all on this cattle over here. The problem is, you know how we have overpopulation of deer, and so you get to go hunting every year for deer to keep them in check, right? What happens to the cattle and the chicken and the everything else once our government and whoever else, those profit over people, those corporations who want to make more money for less output, decide that everything's going to be lab grown? Are we then overrun by cattle, overrun by chickens, overrun by pigs? And now you have cattle hunting season, chicken hunting season, pig hunting season. How does that change anything? How does that make the vegan who doesn't believe in animal cruelty feel better that they bought lab grown chicken when now you have to go out there and murder chickens anyway because they're overrunning places? It doesn't make sense to me. What makes the most sense to me is to feed the animals accordingly, as opposed to the way that we do it now. The way that we grow things here in the United States and the things we import from other countries, a lot of times, it doesn't make sense. Now, I use Butcher Box, okay? When I get meat, I use Butcher Box because it is organic, pasture-raised, farm-raised, grass-fed, grass-finished, all that stuff for the beef, the chicken, everything else. And a lot of people have a problem with the fact that the beef comes from Australia. Well, in Australia, you can get grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, and it's extremely hard to do here in the US because there's not enough land for it. There's not enough space for it because the government holds a lot of the land. Bill Gates owns the rest of that shit. And it's extremely expensive for farmers to do it. And a lot of them can't afford to do so without it costing hundreds of dollars to get a freaking steak or something. So Butcher Box, they pull their beef from Australia. Everything else is here in the United States. It is easier to grow organic pasture-raised chickens than it is for cattle because chickens need way less space than cattle do, right? Now, I'm sorry, when I kind of get overly passionate about something, I lose my train of thought sometimes. Y'all have been here before? Squirrel Tribe, you know how this works. I have an issue with the fact that this documentary, this You Are What You Eat, doesn't package itself for what it really is, all right? I really thought I was going to see a twin experiment, and I would say 20% of the entire show has anything to do with the people in the experiment. 80% of it is to show you how destructive commercial agriculture really is. But they don't show you that it takes even more space to grow the fruits and vegetables. If you were to get rid of meat altogether and only have a country full of vegans, where are you gonna grow all that? Like, you still take up just as much space. You need less water, yeah, but you still take up the same amount of space. And then who knows what it's gonna do to the environment? Probably not nearly as bad, but still, they don't ever look at it from the other side of things. And I'm very curious as to why that is. That part doesn't make sense to me. So that was just a thing. I think everybody should watch You Are What You Eat, only so you can look at it from the point of view that they're not showing it to you from, which I know is hard to say and maybe hard to wrap your mind around if you haven't seen it or don't look at things the way that I do. But I feel like if you're here on Squirrel Tribe, you do look at things the way I do, or else you wouldn't be here. You'd be like, the hell is this crackhead talking about, right? But you're here, so obviously we're here, right? You need to watch it to fully understand what subliminal stuff is being shoved at us on a daily basis. When you go to the grocery store and you see things missing off the shelf, it's supposed to make you go, oh no, there's a shortage. Oh, we're going to have a problem getting this chicken. We're going to have a problem getting this beef. We're going to have a problem getting this salmon. We're going to have a problem getting these eggs. But what it really is it's messing with your mind so that when the stuff does come back, you're happy it's there and you're not questioning if it's the same as it was. You're not questioning if that chicken breast that's now on the shelf came from an actual chicken or if it came from somebody's lab. You're not questioning if that salmon came from some salmon farm in the middle of the ocean or if it came from a lab. Same thing with the beef going forward. Same thing with the eggs now when you go. How to phrase it. I don't know how to talk about it because I don't know the right words sometimes, because the more passionate I get about something, the more my brain goes, we're just going to shut down and not work right now. And if you've noticed, I have not done my notes in the last couple of days. I just have my little websites and stuff that I've been pulling up in little notes, and it does make a difference in the delivery of the video. So if y'all want me to go back to my written out notes, let me know and I will do that, because sometimes this makes me want to shake myself. So I understand if you guys are like, ma'am, I'm gonna need you to cut that shit out. So all I want to say is a lot, obviously, but when you go to these grocery stores and you're getting your food or you're ordering off of some website, whether there's something I saw in my apartment complex. I went to pick up the butcher box when it was delivered, and I saw a thing that said factory. So I don't know what factory is. I'm going to look that one up. I think that's pre-made meals as opposed to the meat. But then they do have vegan places. They have ones that deliver fruits and vegetables to you, which, I mean, that's nice. That's great. But there's so many different things right now being pushed at the people to eat healthier, eat cleaner, eat whatever else. But when they do it, they're pushing it at you in a way of don't eat animals, don't eat dairy, don't eat this. I personally am pulling back on dairy significantly, only because it does have an increase in risk for breast cancer in women because of all of the hormones and estrogen and stuff that is in dairy. So for me, I'm trying very, very hard not to eat as much dairy, and it's very difficult. Cheese is one of the hardest things for many people to give up because it has that chemical in it that is literally equivalent to cocaine. Like, it is literally equivalent to drugs because of the way it alters your mind and gives you that happy feeling. So people are addicted to cheese just like people are addicted to crack. Like, you think about it, next time you eat cheese, you're literally like, man, this makes me feel like a crackhead. Well, it's designed to do that. That's what cheese does. But anyway, I am trying to pull back on those things myself, and I'm trying to make healthier choices for me and my family when it comes to the things we do consume. I am not buying anything that's in a can anymore. I'm not buying anything that's in those center aisles. If I can't get it on the outskirts, I don't want it. And even then, on the outskirts, I am reading the hell out of every single label on that meat that I pick up if I have to get something off the shelves there. When I'm buying vegetables and fruits, I am looking at if it's organic, if it has a peel on it, where it was produced and imported from. All different kinds of things. Is it time consuming? Is it worth it? I think so. So I just wanted to put it out there. When I saw the complete lack of chicken breasts at Publix, my brain wasn't like, oh, it's restocking day. Nope. They had every other part of the chicken, just missing the chicken titties. That's what I call them, which I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but we just did it, so who cares? That really, really got to me because in the end of 2023, literally just a couple weeks ago, is when the rollout of the lab-grown cell-cultured chicken was allowed for sale in the U.S., as opposed to just at those restaurants in California where the locations are that that developed it. I would also like to point out that lab-grown cell cultured, y'all, I swear, I feel dyslexic every single time I try to say that one, has been sold in China since 2020. We import a lot of chicken from China. I don't know if we import whole chickens or just parts of the chicken, but if we're importing chicken breasts from China and then repackaging it as Tyson or anybody else's food and then throwing it on the shelves at the grocery stores, how do we know if those are lab cultured or not? Do we, as the United States of America, does the FDA have to put lab grown cell cultured on chicken that they've imported from somewhere? Or is it only if it's from here? I'm trying to find those answers because the FDA doesn't really give you all the answers right up front. You know how 3-letter agencies in our government work. But I am working on making sure that they have to 100% specify it. I know they said yes for the ones that are made here. I don't know about what happens outside of this country. There are so many other countries that are working on gene splicing and lab-grown cell-cultured animals and things like that, because that's the next wave. That's what we have to worry about. If you have the ability to grow your own any kind of animal for consumption, I would suggest jumping on that right now before the ability to buy chickens is taken away, before the ability to own a cow is taken away, before the ability to have a pig is taken away, and whatever else you might want to eat. Some people have meat rabbits. Some people like to have, I don't know, whatever else there is. But whatever it is that you like to eat meat-wise, try to get your own, because very soon all you're going to be able to get is lab-grown, cell-cultured everything. That's my thought on that. So that's that. Hey, side note, here's the good news for today. The good news for today is we made it through that storm that came through the Gulf. And I know it went all the way up the East Coast. So hopefully everybody that's watching this, that's East Coast-ish, is safe from that. No big damage. I know there's been a lot of snowstorms everywhere else in the country. The good news is today is beautiful here where I am in Okaloosa County, today in Florida. Today is gorgeous. Little small bad news. They're calling for a repeat of everything on Friday that we just went through. So fingers crossed, they're wrong. I will be watching Ryan Hall, y'all, on a daily basis, an hourly basis to see what's going on. I was very sad when I woke up at 3:45 a.m. yesterday because of the storm that was coming through. The very first place I went, y'all should know, the very first place I went was to Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube. And of course, at 3:45 a.m. Central Standard Time, he's probably asleep. So there was nothing. And I kept checking back. And by the time he had a live stream, it was already either in the middle of it here, or we were already done with it and he wasn't live anymore. So, or I didn't need him anymore. So that was that. But keep an eye out on your weather, because who knows what's going to happen. It's a little bit crazy to start off 2024. Weather seems to be the biggest issue the beginning of 2024. So keep an eye on that for you, your own safety, your family's safety, and everything else. Let me know. Let all of us know in the comments if you have watched You Are What You Eat and what you took away from it. And if you looked at it the same way I did, as, I see what y'all are doing there. I don't like the push that you're pushing, because I don't like the push that they're pushing. That's just me. Maybe it's y'all too. Squirrel Tribe, I love you all immensely. I'll see you again later. Bye.